So here we are, another week and another new topic for us to just blah 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 blah. Makeup, is that okay? Yeah, okay, right. Here we are, another week, another topic, and today it is all about calories. And to say from the outset, with these kind of topic nights that I do, this is going to be a long series of snaps. Whilst you're watching, you have questions, you can snap me, and if I don't see them whilst I'm recording, I'll add them in at the end. Alright? So, get comfy. So first and foremost, what exactly is a calorie? And I'm going to try and keep it fairly simple, I'm not going to get too scientific, but a calorie is a unit of energy. Different food types have different calories, as we know, and different macronutrients have different calorie counts. So what I mean by macronutrient, because I know that can be like, what the hell is he talking about? You have protein, carbs, and fats. They're macronutrients. And basically everything that you eat and nearly everything you drink, bar water I think, is made up of protein, carbs, or fats. Now your food will have other things such as micronutrients and a host of other things, but the main breakdown is protein, carbs, and fats. In terms of how your body uses energy from those macronutrients, its preferred source is carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are usually more readily available and are easier for your body to use as energy. Now, where the fun comes in though is that carbohydrates are usually the macronutrient that most people find easier to overconsume. Some examples of carbohydrates would be fruits and veggies, but then also your processed ones like your breads, all that kind of stuff. It'd also include like your pastas, your rice, anything that's kind of stodgy or fibrous. Also, of course, chocolate and sweets, anything with sugar. So essentially, sugar will be a main source of carbohydrates for people. Hence why it's so easy for people to overconsume, because they're the nice stuff. A lot of that kind of stuff is heavy in carbs and sugars. I know I'm not right into calories yet, but this kind of stuff is really important to get your head around as well. Then we have proteins. So your proteins will be things like a lot of dairy products, animal products like meat, eggs. You also have some nuts and some beans and stuff like that will be considered high in protein also. And then of course you have your more processed versions of it, such as your protein drinks and your protein foods as well. And then finally you have your fats, which will be everything from your delicious, really good and healthy avocados through to things like oils, and then some of the trans fats, which are not such good fats that you find in some heavily processed food. Okay, so that is the building blocks for your food, okay? I'm going to show you now the calorie content for each of those macronutrients. Yep, it's getting serious. I have the whiteboard out. So we have protein. That is approximately 4 calories per gram. Carbs is the same. Next we have fats, which is 9 calories per gram. And then booze, drink. What do you think's in that? Now, alcohol itself isn't a macronutrient, but I want to call it out because per gram of alcohol, you have 7 calories. So yeah, your alcohol, 7 calories per gram. Think of it this way, gram for gram, your alcohol is nearly the same as fat. So, as I covered the other day in one of my other stories, carbohydrates get a very bad rap, but in terms of their calories, they're the exact same as protein. However, what you need to consider is what effect does different food types have on your body? Okay, and what I mean by that is a calorie a calorie? So will, say, 100 calories of protein have the same effect on your body as, say, 100 calories of carbohydrates or sugar? In terms of pure calories, they are the same in a numbers game. However, the impact is very different. For example, say if you have your 100 calories from, say, a fruit drink and a chocolate bar. The effect of that on your body is going to be so different than, say, 100 calories from, say, a chicken or something like that. And the reason being, you will get a real sugar spike or insulin spike in your blood, and usually what happens means you'll get a rush of energy for a wee while and then a dip. And that's where you can get into that cycle of almost craving stuff, Like, you know, if you have one square of chocolate and then you're like, I have to have more. One of the reasons is you've just had a sugar rush and you're on a come down and you want to get that feeling of almost a high again, which is why you crave more. How often have you had, say, a chicken breast and then craved more? It's very different. So even though the calories can be the same, the effect can be very different. So if you think about where do the main calories in your daily food come from, and think about the effect that could be having on your body each day in terms of how you feel, energy levels, and nutritional value as well. And that's why you have the 3 p.m. slump, because usually people have had their lunch, which will usually be like sandwiches, crisps, a drink, something like that, and then the downer. Also, proteins have a higher thermogenic effect, and I explain that now. So what that means is that basically your body has to work harder and use more energy to break down protein than carbs. And protein will leave you feeling fuller for longer than carbs would. So that's where a numbers game might be the same, but the impact those numbers have, as I say, are very different, okay? And then as for fats, again, fats get a very bad name, in particular, as I touched on when we were talking about slimming clubs. Like if we take an avocado, for example, brilliant example. If you were to go just on calories, you could say, oh, an avocado is very high, therefore it mustn't be that healthy for me. And that's the way a lot of slimming clubs might present it. But equally, you need to think of the nutritional value again. Avocados are so full of nutrient-dense fats that it's such an awesome food not to be afraid of. And the same goes for your nuts, your seeds, your eggs as well. All really good sources of good fats. Yes, they're slightly higher in calories because remember it's 9 calories per gram. However, they're really good, nutritious and healthy for you. And to function day to day, your body needs fat, so you shouldn't eliminate it. However, if you think of, say, 100 calories, say, from avocados, eggs, nuts, fish, seeds, versus 100 calories from processed foods, the usefulness and quality of those in your body is extremely different. So again, you can't just think of calories as a numbers game. So the bottom line for this bit is, don't just think numbers when you're thinking calories, think of the quality behind those numbers. So then, how do you work out how many calories you need, how many should you reduce if you're trying to lose weight, etc. Let's talk about that now. When you're using things like MyFitnessPal and you log in, it'll auto-calculate a figure for you. Disregard that. I never go by it. And tomorrow's topic actually will be about using MyFitnessPal and tracking your food. For now though, there's a couple of things that you need to consider when you're working out your calories. It's not just your weight and your height, you also really need to factor in your activity level too. So there's a lot of people that I talk to and they might say, oh Paddy, you know, I'm taking in 1500 calories a day and I'm doing 6 workouts a week. And you know, I'm getting kind of frustrated with my food, yada yada yada. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute, if you're doing 6 workouts a week, more than likely you're going to need a heck of a lot more than 15 calories a day. You need to make sure that you're fueling your body for day-to-day activity, but also the workouts that you do and to help it recover. And again, that's where food timing and stuff like that, which I'll talk about separately, can play a part. So anyway, for now, working out your calorie requirements. There's a good few different calculators online that you can use. But I'm going to pop up on the whiteboard now a calculation that you can use to help you get started. And what I'd say is, before we look at this, don't freak out. 99% of people I'd say that I speak to completely underestimate their calorie requirement and then freak out. Because they're like, oh my god, no, that's way too many calories. And it's like, no, actually, you've been practically starving yourself. Particularly if you're overweight. Your body will have a requirement for a lot more calories than somebody who isn't overweight, just to perform day-to-day functions. Okay, I've been kicked out of the front room because Big Brother's on and my boyfriend wants to watch it. Oh, yes, I'm a gay. Anyway, back to our nutrition. So, we're talking about the calories and the equation. I know it looks scary, but bear with me, okay? So the first step that we have here is BMR, basal metabolic rate. This is how many calories your body needs a day before it does anything. So what I mean by that is literally just to survive, to wake up, to breathe, for all your organs to function. For step 1, it is 10 multiplied by your weight in kilograms plus 6.25 multiplied by your height in centimeters minus 5 multiplied by your age in years minus 161. For men, instead of taking away this 161 at the end, you would plus 5. Okay, I know that is complex, folks. But if you literally just break it down into that first step and do those calculations exactly as they are there, it's really easy to follow, okay? Once you have that done, it'll literally take, like what, less than 2 minutes to work all that out, so do it, it's worth it, okay? Then you have your BMR. Then that's factoring in like your weight and your height and that, but as I mentioned, you also need to factor in your activity level, and that's where the second step comes. So once you have your number from these calculations, you're going to multiply it then by one of these. For most people, however, if you're somebody that say goes to the gym, say, 3 times a week or does a class, something like that, I'd go by this middle one, okay, by about 1.4. If you are somebody that isn't doing exercise and you are just focusing on your nutrition at the moment, then go by this one, 1.2. So you have step 1 and step 2. The only difference again for men is that this bit here, you plus 5 instead of minus 161. And that's because men and women have very different calorie requirements. So when you work that out, then you will know how many calories per day you need. So now you have your calorie figure. If you want to lose weight, we need to reduce some calories from that, okay? There is this kind of ballpark figure that people say, oh, eat less than kind of 500 calories a day, yada yada. What I'd go with is whatever number you just got, aim to have a reduction of about maybe 15, maybe 20% of that figure. So again, what I'm trying to do here is to let each of you work out your very own specific needs as opposed to just an across the board thing. Because think about it, if you say, oh, just reduce your intake by 500 calories, to somebody that has just come up with a figure of say 7,000 versus somebody that just come up with a figure of say 2,000, reducing your intake by 500 calories for each of those people could have a very different reaction. Whereas if you can personalize it and do that little bit of a reduction that I just spoke about, so again, about 15 to 20% of your figure. And I would kind of go with the 15% if I had to pick one. The reason being, it gives you more room for movement if you hit a plateau or need to adjust things. If I was working with somebody that was, say, super morbidly obese, then I might look at a higher calorie reduction, but initially maybe go with that 15. We've calculated your BMR and your activity levels. We've come up with that overall calorie requirement and then the reduction needed. You now have your daily calorie goal for fat loss. Simple. If there is enough interest, what I could do is maybe put all of that into an Excel calculator and upload it to my website if you're interested. If that will be beneficial to you, just send me a message to gauge interest, and then if enough people are interested, I'll just do all the calculations and put it up and you just enter in your figures. Okay, so we've spoke about macronutrients, what they are, the differences between them. We've spoken about calories, and again, the differences between them. How numbers wise, yes, a calorie is a calorie, but how in terms of your body and how it uses food, they're very different things. And now we've just looked at how to work out how many calories you need a day for fat loss. And if you're somebody that is, say very overweight, don't be expecting a number of like 1,600 to come out, okay? Now, as I say, it should be a gradual reduction. I've worked with people who have needed just to maintain about 5,000 calories a day. So be realistic, trust the process, don't come up with your own magical figure, and don't go by MyFitnessPal. As I say, folks, I know tonight's one is a little bit more technical, but again, just think, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you to individualize what you do. If you go and pay a personal trainer or a nutritional coach or something like that, more than likely this is the exact calculation or a variation of it they'll do. Or something even worse, like, oh, I think this amount of calories are just on your weight or that. So the formula I've given you is quite individual. Now, there is another bit that we could go into about how much protein do you need, how much fat do you need, how much carbs you need. I'm going to save that for another night though. Some other considerations in relation to calories. If you are recovering from an illness, you may have a higher calorie requirement. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, then equally you may have you would have a higher calorie requirement. The only people who can give you that exact advice if you're recovering from an illness or pregnant is a registered dietitian. As I've mentioned before, personal trainers and nutritionists are not insured to give that bespoke advice, okay? Okay, I think I've talked an awful lot of sciencey type stuff tonight in terms of working out numbers and that. So I'm going to go over to some of the questions sent me and then I'll finish up.
Oh my god, my mouth is getting tired.
So, somebody's just sent me a question that they have done the calculation and as expected, it's come out higher than what my FitnessPal, almost double to what my FitnessPal advised them. And they're wondering if that's done any kind of damage. So, you know, the figure you got when you added step 1 and step 2, go back to that for a few weeks. That will have you back at your maintenance calories and then simply work back from there, okay, in terms of the amount needed for fat loss. Keeping in mind that you will be eating more calories than you did before. If some of those are carbohydrates, you may have more water retention, okay? And that is perfectly normal and nothing to be afraid of. And it's where people freak out, oh my god, I've put weight on. No, you've probably just started eating more carbs. And when you eat more carbohydrate foods, you're more likely to retain some extra water, which is where some of that extra weight can come from. Aoife wants to know how many calories should we try and aim for if wanting to lose weight. Hopefully, Aoife, I've answered that. It is a bit of an equation, as I say, but do invest a few minutes doing it. Glasses are on. Sharon Levy. Hello, thank you very much for the shout out, Sharon. Really appreciate it. And Sharon asked me to talk about this idea of how essentially a calorie isn't a calorie, like we've discussed, and how you have some high calorie foods, but they're really good for you, like the avocados. And the other thing as well, aside from the calories, you have to think of the overall nutrient benefit of the food that you're eating. So obviously, say for example, if you're having a lunch of, I don't know, bar chocolate, crisps, etc., you're getting a lot of crap. Whereas if you had the exact same amount of calories from fresh produce, your fruits, your veggies, your meats, you're going to be getting a lot of, obviously, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, but also your nutrients as well, and your micronutrients that your body needs every day. Then someone has asked about cooking on a budget, which I will be doing later in the week. But in terms of the question about fresh fruit and veg versus frozen, I wouldn't even get hung up on it. If frozen's easier for you, use it. Hunter-gatherer asking about macronutrients. I've done a good introduction to those. We will do another session about calculating them for you as well. Then the final one is about fruit. And do you need to worry about the calories from fruit? Okay, this is an interesting one. We touched on it the other night, but let's go back on. So obviously fruit is really, really good for you. Okay, it's a natural product. It's full of good vitamins, vitamin C, loads of stuff. But there's no food that you can eat till the end of time that's going to be good for you, okay? In terms of too much of anything can be bad for you. The majority of fruit is very high in sugars. So if you think of like bananas, which is a brilliant food and I love myself, but it's high in sugar. But you have to think about the extra stuff you get from the bananas as well, like your potassium and your vitamins and stuff that's really good for your body. Therefore, I'm not too worried about the calories from that. If, however, I was having, 10 bananas a day type thing, then I probably would be concerned about the sugar content I'm getting in from that source. And it goes back to that idea that if you can eat fruit whole, that'll be the preferred way. A smoothie now and again is grand, but you have to keep in mind the sugar content will be higher. And in fairness, this is why some of the slimming clubs do tell you have to point or sin or whatever if you make a smoothie. The reason being, a lot of the fibre that your body would break down is gone when you use a blender or a juicer. Even if you go and compare actually, like say one of those innocent drinks or a similar drink with a can of Coke or something like that. Have a look at the carbohydrate section, okay? And then underneath that, of which sugars. And you will see obviously a can of Coke is really, really high in sugar. It's practically all it is. But equally, the innocent fruit drink or similar will be very high in sugar also. That's why I'm not a huge fan of a lot of smoothies. Now and again, absolutely grand. If you are thinking of getting a smoothie or something like that, or a smoothie maker, I would go for something like the NutriBullet as opposed to a juicer, because at least then you're getting to keep all the fibre and all the other bits and pieces that are in your food. So in summary, fruits and veggies, really, really good for you. Juicing fruit now and again, same with blending, ideally have it fresh and whole. I am going to shut up now. This has been probably the longest Snapchat series I've done. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it's been useful. And I'm going to leave you with a screenshot of this calculation again in case you missed it earlier, okay? Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great one.